All right. So, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Vendetta Sports Media Daily Show. Your Tuesday crew is back. I'm Chris Bagdonis along with Matt Hannafin. How are you doing, my friend?
Doing all right, man. How about you?
Doing doing okay. I was gonna say I'm doing great, but I'm doing okay, and I'll make it short and sweet. We both saw game 4 yesterday, and am I surprised by what happened in Miami last night? No, absolutely not. Does it still hurt me? Absolutely, yes. And of course, the irony, I think it was in the Cleveland series where Josh Hart, he was talking to Mitchell Robinson. He's like, Mitch, you go and get the regular rebounds. I get the rebounds that break their backs. And what else happens in the fourth quarter? But the Miami Heat just absolutely kills the Knicks. Extended possessions, whatever you want to call it. But they just wanted it more, and they just absolutely killed the Knicks on the offensive glass. And credit to them, the Knicks had a chance in that game to maybe steal one on the road, but again, offensive rebounding and also foul trouble. They really were not disciplined down the stretch. Both Randall Barrett and Brunson all got into foul trouble late in the game, but I think the Knicks only have themselves to blame. And again, credit to the Miami Heat because it was a very balanced attack from start to finish. It wasn't. I think. I think, from my perspective, the Heat are realizing that the Knicks are not the Milwaukee Bucks. Jimmy Butler does not need to put up 56 points. That Max Strus can get involved, Gabe Vincent can get involved, and especially without Tyler Hero, it's really impressed me just how well this team has done. All across the lineup in terms of scoring and the effort plays. But I'll leave it to you, Matt, because I'm sure you definitely saw some other things in me in that game.
Well, I mean, just to piggyback off of what you said, I was once again yesterday. I was a comment merchant for at least part of yesterday's Daily Show, and it was James and Anthony. And were talking about the Heat series, and one thing I said was Jimmy hasn't had an FU game yet, and that's still in Miami's back pocket. I mean, Jimmy was great yesterday. He had 27, 6, and 10, 2 steals, 2 blocks, but it wasn't like Jimmy needed to take over, and you were right on it. Because Jimmy hasn't had to, and it hasn't come to a point where, like in the Milwaukee series, there's multiple times where Miami was down double digits or they were down late in the game, and Jimmy rolls them back with like 11 straight points or whatever. Like that wasn't the case. I mean, Jimmy's been good this series. Like there's still no question about it. I mean, he was good in game 1 before he got hurt. He missed game 2. He was pretty good in game 3. They sat him for half the fourth quarter because they were blowing the Knicks out. He comes back in with like 6 minutes left. He gets like, I think like 4 or 6 points or whatever it was in a few minutes spurt. But you haven't had like the FU, I'm putting this team on my back, Jimmy type. It gave me yesterday. It kind of reminds me, I was watching it yesterday, and it kind of reminds me of like not regular season Jimmy, but like there's definitely times during the regular season where Jimmy will be more passive and he'll act as a facilitator more than a scorer, and there's nothing wrong with that. It still impacts the game in a positive manner when he does that. But that's the one thing that Miami still has in their back pocket for these next, or at least for game 5. If it goes to game 6 or 7, they still have that. But then just to piggyback off the offensive rebound point, Miami had 17 rebounds in the fourth quarter. They had 7 offensive rebounds. The Knicks had 8 total rebounds. They nearly had as many offensive rebounds as the Knicks did total rebounds. Miami had 7 second chance points. I know Bam had a few offensive rebounds, and not all of those offensive rebounds led to points. Like I remember there was a string of like 4 possessions where Miami got like 4 offensive rebounds. They were,
Right.
I think 3 or 4 of those shots were all threes. They all missed them. And it was a way I described it last night was like, it was like a masochistic, like sloppy, gutty fourth quarter for both teams. Like Miami shot 27% in the fourth quarter. They were 6 of 22. They were 0 of 9 from 3. The Knicks were, I think they shot like 30%, 33%. They were 1 of 8 from 3. And so it was like the Knicks, I mean, it was a 9-point lead heading into the quarter. It sat around 6, 7, or it was like 7 to 9 points the entire quarter. But I thought the Knicks had plenty of chances to at least like cut the lead to 5 and then cut the lead to 3. But like kind of like and with the whistle, like, I mean, I'll be completely honest from an unbiased perspective. I didn't think the Knicks got the most favorable whistle at least towards the end of that game. I know Brunson, I think, picked up a 5th foul that I was just like, okay, like, why are we calling this?
Yeah.
I know Hart had a couple questionable ones. I don't know if it was his 5th or 6th foul, but he hit, I think it was Vincent's wrist off of a rebound.
And he went down, right? Like he hit the floor?
No. It was like, I think it was Vincent got the rebound. He tried to outlet pass it. Hart hit his arm or whatever, and Hart was furious about that. And
I think I remember that. Yeah.
There was a call towards the end where it was a little bit of like a questionable call on Hart. I think it was a 6, but it was just like they didn't get the most favorable whistle, but it was a kind of it's been, I don't want to say an oddly officiated series, but yesterday certainly was the case, I think, for both sides. I think you could say that about most games. I didn't think it completely leaned one way or the other. And it's been like I don't know how you feel watching this, but at least for games 3 and 4 for me, I'm sitting here wondering, like, how the hell do the Heat keep doing this? Like, if you look at games 3 and 4, both teams had similar shooting splits. Like game 3, I think Miami shot like 39%. The Knicks shot 34, 35%. The Heat were shooting Heat shot 22% from deep. The Knicks shot 20%. And then yesterday was kind of that same story. And like, it's just a weird, like yesterday, the Heat beat the Knicks at their own game. With the offensive rebound. And I don't want to say, I'm not going to try to get too ahead of myself and say the Knicks or the Heat beat or how do I phrase this? I don't want to get ahead of myself and say the Heat like broke the Knicks spirit, but it looked like yesterday, especially late in that game, like just the effort on the long rebounds, it felt like the Heat broke the Knicks spirit.
Oh, they totally did.
Of course, I'm not going to be one of those guys being like the series is over. Like for me, I've just been conditioned my entire life, at least in this context, being like, you've got to finish the job. And I know you don't want to hear that, but it's like
it is what it is.
I'm hoping Miami gets this done in 5 to at least get the extended rest, because I'm sure we're going to hit on Philly and Boston. I hope they just beat the living out of each other for these next 3 games. If it goes 3 games, at least the next 2 games, however much long the series goes. But like, here's something I want to ask you before like, just to continue the conversation, just to get your perspective on things. How do you think the Knicks offense has been?
In terms of game 4, I thought the offense was very good. And especially, you look at the quote unquote big 3 of RJ, Brunson, and Randall, they all shot pretty well in terms of efficiency. They got their shots. But, I was thinking about this as I was laying in bed last night. And obviously the Knicks, again, like the Milwaukee Bucks, the Knicks are not a team that you need to get out as soon as possible. I think, obviously, it would be nice if Jimmy has an FU game in game 5. And
he might. I have no idea.
I feel like that's certainly on the cards. But in terms of the offense, like, it's just a shame because they cannot keep wasting these Jalen Brunson performances, like a 32-10 under the radar. And obviously, if the Knicks won, that's probably what the big headline would be, because Brunson has nearly single-handedly kept the Knicks in this series. And again, they need more from Julius Randle, and it really pisses me off to see Julius Randle go to the media and say, maybe they just want it more than us. You just can't say that in the playoffs. That's just the one thing. Like, obviously, that's the elephant in the room. That's what everyone's probably thinking. But you can't just air that laundry out to the media. And then
media and fans are going to eat that up, dude.
They're going to eat that up.
That is going to be the talking point on the fan for the
most of the 2 weeks. Yeah. I mean, especially, if it's all over after tomorrow night. And especially, it makes me think, you see Brian Wintour starting to link Giannis to the Knicks. This whole, we can talk about that more later, but now Knicks fans are like, all right, let's dump Randall for Giannis. It's not that simple, unfortunately. It's not that simple. And again, coming into this series, I knew, obviously, Knicks fans, I don't consider myself a part of the hysterical lot that will run into Midtown Manhattan, screaming F everyone. I knew that Miami at the very least would be an incredibly tough out, and I knew that it's very likely that Miami would beat the Knicks, and that's looking more and more like the case as the days go on. And I thought about it to myself that let's look at the Jimmy Butler tenure in Miami. They're one win away from being in the conference finals for the third time in 4 years. And that 2021, postseason against, the Milwaukee sweep, that's looking more like an anomaly than the trend when Jimmy
Yep.
Butler is in Miami. And it's that simple. I think, and not even in terms of roster construction, you just look at the ethos of the Miami Heat. They're a team since the day they were born. They've just found a way. In 2006, they found a way to get past the Dallas Mavericks out of a 2-0 hole. In 2012 and 13, they found a way out of being probably the most scrutinized team in sports after losing in 2011 to the Mavericks to being back-to-back NBA champs. And now they found a way to being probably the most consistently well-run team, I'd say, if not in the Eastern Conference, in the entire NBA. And again, I think it's just, I think it's just a testament to Pat Riley. It's a testament to Eric Spoelstra and just the culture they have laid out. Obviously, the Knicks have done well in recent years. I'm a fan of Leon Rose. I'm starting to lose my patience with Tom Thibodeau, but that's another discussion. But I just knew that, it's a great. I love that the Knicks made the second round, but I knew that they were not ready for the big time.
It's interesting. Just going off the Heat point. I've asked this to just Heat people I know and Heat people I talk to mostly over Twitter, some coworkers and stuff like that, and I've asked them, like, what was since the Big Three, what has been their favorite season? Like was it the 11 and 30 and then 30 and 11 season? Was it the bubble season, Jimmy's first year in Miami? Was it even last year?
Yeah,
was it Dwayne's last year? Like I've asked this to multiple people before, and the most resounding answer that I got was last year. And I'm saying this like since the Big Three. Not, I mean, I'm sure the Big Three with the championships that topples all that, but like since the Big Three, and I've been on record saying this too, and I'll say it here as well. Last year was probably the most fun season for me because, I mean, they were the number one team in the East. They were called Dangerous Loomers by Kirk Goldsberry and ESPN in January. Paired them with the Lakers when the Lakers were like the 7th or 8th seed in the West. Miami was like, I think, the 2nd or 3rd seed at the time. They overtook Boston, Milwaukee for that number 1 seed. They were still kind of like the weird 1 seed that teams were counting out. They make it to the Eastern Conference Finals after beating Atlanta in 5 games, after beating the Sixers in 6 games, and came really one shot away from beating the Celtics in 7 games. I mean, they did lose 3 straight at home. That's inexcusable, but it was still the most fun season that I've had. Like the PJ Tucker, like I'm sure we'll get into him, but like the PJ Tucker, like everything that he did on the defensive end, the rebounding, the shooting that they got from Strus and Vincent, who kind of enveloped and grew as the year gone on. Tyler, what his growth was. Bam was still coming into his own, but he definitely exceeded expectations on the defensive end. I don't know if people really remember, but if you can go back and watch what he did, Joel Embiid in the Sixers series, albeit Joel was a little bit banged up with the fractured orbital, but he was still playing first team all level defense. And like these 8 games, or no, 9 games that I've gotten from this postseason run has reminded me a little bit of last year. And like I'm still a little cautiously optimistic about what's to come, not just throughout the rest of the series, even though Miami's up 3-1, but what could go should Miami make the Eastern Conference Finals or even the NBA Finals, just because of like what I saw through 84 games in the regular season and how it felt like they were just slugging their way. And I say slugging, like it felt like it just a complete like 2 steps forward, 3 steps backward type mentality. I mean, I know they finished 44 and 38, whatever it was, but it still felt like oh my God, like this team, like I remember having conversations with people being like, I wouldn't be entirely upset if Miami lost the second play-in game. Not to say I would root for that, but it just felt like I remember like an overwhelming amount of fans, at least that I saw on Twitter, which is what I'm mostly on, and then like Instagram or whatnot, would they wanted to lose that second play-in game just because of how terrible this season was. Just at least in terms of like a watchability standpoint. I don't know, an expectation standpoint, I'm guessing some expected them to be a top 3 or 4 team in the East. I think I had them when I did the preseason preview with Trey. I think I had them as a 4th or 5th seed. I can't remember which one, but regardless, it wasn't a fun regular season. But then, like you watch what they did against Milwaukee. They go on this complete offensive outburst, and then even this series, like I don't think Miami's played that well offensively. And yet they still won 3 of their 4 games. It could have been a sweep if Jimmy played in game 2. Sorry for that.
No, it's the truth. It's the truth.
I mean, you don't know. It's the thrill of the unknown. I could say, well, if Randall played game 1, who knows what happened? Like, we could do this all day long. But like, just from a general standpoint, I think they could have swept if Jimmy did play game 2, and I understand like why he didn't. I was going back and forth. I may have talked about it with
last week I think we may have touched on.
Yeah, like I think he plays game 4, but I'm not sure if he's good to go. He'll go, but whatever the case was, that's in the past. But like even yesterday, I'm watching this game and it's like Miami has that 9-point lead, and again, I'm like, dude, they missed their first 10 shots, both teams to begin the 4th quarter, and I'm just sitting here waiting for like a quick 6-0 Knicks run to cut it to 3, and I'm like, oh my god, like I'm waiting for it. And again, they had their opportunities.
Exactly.
But just from like a Knicks offensive standpoint, I also pointed this out yesterday, as the comment merchant under the Daily on the Daily Show. Please go check that out if you haven't already on the Vendetta Sports Media Podcast Network YouTube channel. And like the Knicks were shooting, I think 32% on jumpers or on just shots 10 or more feet from the basket through the first 2 games. In game 3, they shot 24% or 23%, whatever it was. It was like 13 to 55, 13 to 56. I'd have to pull up the numbers. Yesterday, it started out well for the Knicks. They shot 50%. They shot 6 of 12 on shots 10 feet or beyond in the first quarter, but then it dipped below 30% in quarters 2 through 4. And it's like, for me, my entire thing this series, and I've talked about it on Twitter. I don't think I've talked about it on here that much, but like you have to make the Knicks make the tough ones. You have to make them, because I mean, in game 1, we saw it a little bit with Jalen. We saw it a little bit with Josh. We even saw it a little bit with RJ as well, when they were attacking the paint and getting into the lane and generating those paint touches. And like they were attacking Strus and Gabe, and they hunted those mismatches, and they were getting good looks, and Miami wasn't really sending 2 at them, or they weren't really packing the paint as much as they should. And like I know Spo made the mid-game adjustment in game 1 in the second half, which helped them to their victory. And then they've done the same thing throughout the course of the series, but like they've really packed the paint whenever Jalen or whenever RJ or whenever even Josh.
Yeah,
I know they're playing off him. Like whenever they're really packing the paint, especially with those former 2 players, Jalen and RJ. And so they're making, and even like Julius as well, since he's playing games 2 through 4, like they're making the Knicks take the tough shots. And like yesterday, I thought the Knicks, at least at the start again, did a pretty good job of making those tough shots. And it's just
I agree.
Your cap to him. Like I know Jalen had that ridiculous, crazy corner 3.
The bank.
And I'm sitting here, I'm like, come on, like there's nothing you can do about that. It was over Caleb, and like Caleb played perfect defense in that position, but it's like there's nothing you can do about that. I know there's been multiple possessions where Bam has defended Julius well, and for the most part Julius has missed, but like at the same time, like some of those shots, I'm like, there's nothing you can do about that. But that's kind of the Julius Randle experience at times. He's going to take those tough ones. Sometimes he's going to make them, sometimes he's going to not. I saw him make them In that February March game where he had 43
erupted. Yeah,
he was making everything under the sun. It's just like you can't do anything about this. Like this is just good defense. You could throw 7 players at him. You could throw Eric Spoelstra plus
you can throw the bench at him.
Butler on top of Eric Spoelstra's shoulders plus Bam Adebayo, and Julius is still going to find a way to make that shot. Like that's just how it was for Julius that night. But again, that's just the Julius Randle experience at times that you've seen. But I don't like how am I going to phrase this? I still think Miami has more to go. Like I still think they can play a better brand of basketball. Obviously, the Knicks can too. I'm worried again a little bit about the shooting regression, just from Miami's perspective of like, okay, they shot 33% from 3. They shot 13 of 39 in game 4. They shot 22% in game 3. Like, can you close it out and get this shit over as soon as possible on the road in game 5 when you know you're going to get the Knicks' best punch? All right. Like,
everything they got.
I'm not going to sit here. Again, I'm not going to sit here and act like the series is over because I'm just conditioned to believe that like you got to win 4 games. I've seen crazier shit happen on a basketball court in a playoff series. Do I think the Heat have more mental fortitude than the Knicks? Yes, I do. Do I think the Heat are the better team than the Knicks? To believe it or not, yes, I do. Even after what I saw in the regular season, do I think the Heat are deeper than the Knicks? They're sure as shit playing like it. With Kyle Lowry coming off the bench, it's been huge this series.
He's been excellent.
Caleb Martin, what he's done.
That dunk, man, that was a crazy dunk.
Oh, I tweeted this out this morning. I've watched Caleb do that since he was repping silver or blue and for my beloved Nevada Wolfpack when he was in college. Watching him do that with the Miami Heat just continues to warm my heart more than anyone.
Full circle moment.
It's a full circle moment. I still remember the day he signed. How many texts and messages that I got just from people I know. But like, just like watching him do that in a Heat uniform makes it that much better. But it's like it's still like when he would dunk that got like usually I don't want to say I'm quiet, but I'm not like super duper loud for the most part. I'd say in at least 70% of instances. But that was one of the 30% where I got up out of my chair and I was like, holy. Like, I was like, oh, my God.
You're bringing up to 11.
Yeah, like, say it with your chest, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
But, like, what he's provided for them off the bench has been huge. I mean, I know Vincent has struggled a little bit this series. He's probably been more bad than good, at least through these last 2 or 3 games. But there's been definite moments like yesterday. He was picking up Jalen full court, and he was really making it hard for him. I know Jalen finished with 32 and 11 on 10 of 21 shooting. Like, he was really good. He was really good. He still got his own. But I thought Gabe, for at least most of that first half, was making it difficult for him. And I think if you can continue to do that, you can maybe wear Jalen Brunson out. I have no idea. Jalen Brunson is a really good player. So it's like I'm not going to sit here and act like Gabe Vincent's the Jalen Brunson stopper. Like, I just don't think that's
I think it's possible, honestly.
Maybe. I don't know.
His ankle's a little – I think his ankle might be definitely not 100%.
I was going to mention that. Like, his ankle – I mean, putting up 32 and 11 on a bum ankle is impressive. Same thing with RJ. I know he rolled his ankle at the beginning of yesterday's game. Obviously, Julius with his ankle injury. It seems like just a lot of ankle injuries this series.
Yeah, a lot of feet injuries.
Like Jimmy has the ankle injury. Yeah. Like it's just a lot of lower body ankle players are getting beat up. And that's just the playoffs, But
yeah.
Do you think this series ends in 5 or do you think it goes 6? Like where do you think it is?
I mean, to your point, I do think that the Knicks are going to give it their best shot because this is, potentially the last opportunity they can. You have no other choice. But, I mean, I've just been thinking about everything, and I've been thinking about how abysmal the bench has been without Emmanuel Quickley. I mean, the Miami bench has just been running laps around them. And, look, I mean, I'll give Deuce McBride credit. He came in under pretty bad circumstances, and he tried. But, like, it's just I mean it's better him than I guess Evan Fournier or Derrick Rose, but like I just don't know how Tom Thibodeau is gonna respond because we've seen in his career like he just hasn't really found a way. And once the adversity hits him in the playoffs, he kind of just folds like a cheap tent. So I certainly could see it ending in 5, especially if Jimmy kind of has an MJ esque Madison Square Garden playoff classic. I'm not saying double nickel, Matt, but I'm saying it could be something close to that.
Yeah, well, I think the thing that is getting overshadowed with Tibbs this series, and because I think he has made adjustments, and I think like he has, I don't want to say thrown the kitchen sink at Miami, but he's come pretty close to it. Like it feels like they're packing the paint more or they at least they have at certain points with Bam. I mean, I know he had 23 and 13. He was awesome yesterday. Shout out to the people who just effing hate Bam and are preying on his downfall and say he can't play in the playoffs when he does everything defensively, on the glass, boxing out, screening.
He was taking threes yesterday.
He took a 3 yesterday, but like it just like the Bam discourse from Heat fans and even some NBA fans about like they're expecting him to put up 25 and 12 every night. And that's just annoyed me. Like, of course, there's been times where we've wanted Bam to be a little bit more aggressive, but like the offense is predicated around like his screening and like leveraging offense out of that for like the Duncan Robinsons when he's in the game, the Struces, the Vincents.
He does have really good gravity in the paint. I've seen
really good gravity in the paint, but he's also just a really good, like for his size being at 6'8", 6'9", he's a really good screener. I don't think that gets talked about enough about him. I know people do think he sets a lot of illegal screens. I haven't seen as much as that, but like besides the point, I think he's a really good screener. And from just what he does on the defensive end and like how physically taxing that can be for a player, like what he's done on the glass with Mitchell Robinson and an Isaiah Hartenstein, what he's done defensively on players like Giannis, like Brook Lopez, like Joel Embiid last year, like
even Randall at times.
Jaylen Brown, Randall, right? Like what he does defensively on them. Again, just from like a physically taxing standpoint, I think it's just absurd to expect him to put up 25 and 12 or these crazy numbers every night. But like he was really good yesterday. But like the Knicks are throwing 2 or 3 guys at Jimmy, and
he's making the right play.
Like I think that was in a little bit of an adjustment from game 1 because I don't think Tibbs did that as much as in game 1 as he has yesterday. Like if you go back and just look at the tape, like there's multiple possessions where like 2 or 3 guys are surrounding Jimmy, or he'll send 2 from the strong side, and Jimmy's trying to have him navigate that and trying to find someone else. But even Jimmy said yesterday, he's like, yeah, I like being double teamed because one of my guys is open or someone will find him if I can't find him immediately. But that's just Jimmy Butler just being like the typical like the kind of the troll Jimmy that we all. I mean, I honestly don't think he's joking, but like
no.
Jimmy has those funny post-game comments, but like just going back off of like I think Tibbs has like done everything he could theoretically. I
mean, like, I'm with you, Matt. Yeah,
he's thrown Hart, he's thrown Grimes, he's thrown everything that he could at Jimmy. He's tried to throw everything he could at Bam.
He's found a way.
And you have the elite of the elite on the other end with Eric Spoelstra, and like that's what
mastermind
gets shadowed in this shit is like I think Eric's had a really good. I was a little bit critical of Eric in the regular season. I didn't think he had the best regular season, at least to his standards. Just with like some of the rotations and how he was using certain guys and stuff, but like that happens. You're testing stuff out. When Miami's roster was inconsistent and as fluctuating as it was throughout the regular season with their shooting, with just their construction, like he did what he could with what he had. And I don't think like missing the open shots or missing the open threes, like I don't think Spo could have done much about that, if I'm being completely honest. So like that part wasn't on him. But like just through these playoffs, making the adjustments, the matchups, like putting putting Jimmy, like mixing up Jimmy on RJ and mixing up Jimmy on Brunson and having Jimmy help off as kind of like a roamer in the series. Kind of mixing up the matchups with Randall and Bam, and Love, and Robinson and stuff like that. Like, and then of course, schematically speaking, like sometimes hedging, sometimes dropping, sometimes blitzing, even at certain points. Trying to throw two at Brunson in certain situations to try to make someone else beat you. Like, I feel like going to zone. Like, I know the Knicks were much better in the second half of game 2 against Miami's zone, but like whenever Jimmy's been off, I guess not in games 3 and 4, but like there has been times where when Jimmy's been off the floor just throughout these playoffs where Miami's gotten to zone and it's worked. And it's like Tim Legler's talked about it on JJ's podcast a few days ago. Players aren't supposed to be successful, or like a zone defense isn't supposed to be successful in the NBA, and yet Miami throughout this entire season has just made it work, and they've done it in the past too. It's been probably going on 3 or 4 years of me making jokes about Miami sometimes being Syracuse at certain points where they just routinely stick to zone, and at some points they get beat, sometimes they don't, but like just mixing up the different coverages and mixing up the defenses. I think Eric has always done a good job of that and knowing when to do it, whether it's after timeout or on an inbounds possession, or having guys like Gabe Vincent or whatever press Jalen Brunson to just try to slow up the offense, to try to muck things up a little bit more. Gabe did a good job in the first half forcing turnovers, especially early in that game, and it really got New York on their heels early yesterday. And I thought, again, that's just something that you could look back on being like, that's just credit to Miami. Miami forced 16 turnovers yesterday. They only had 12. That's kind of the Knicks' bread and butter in generating good, fashionable offense, is forcing turnovers. And Miami, I think, did a better job. Again, Miami beat them at their own game yesterday.
Going to say exactly that, yeah. But I think to your credit, I mean, I've been thinking about Spo, and I've been thinking about, through all that, he's kept his team incredibly well disciplined too. Like you said, I mean, the whistle was kind of against the Knicks at times. But
it was like, I don't want to admit it, but like there was, I think it was Jalen's fifth where I want to say it was like Bam in the post, but it was like I didn't even see anything, and they're like, yeah, boop, fifth foul.
Yeah.
And it's just like a fourth quarter. It's in like a fourth quarter moment where it's just like,
you got to let him play.
Do you really got to call this?
But
like,
I mean,
again, it's been a weirdly officiated series. I know Heat fans have made a lot of like Scott Foster jokes after game 2 and how that late in the game was officiated. I mean, I was more on the perspective after game 2 being like Miami allowed 5 offensive rebounds and the Knicks got plenty of second chance points. They started knocking down shots. Like Jalen hit a few shots late in that game. Hart hit that corner 3 to put them up 96 or whatever it was. Like the Knicks were making shots, they were getting offensive rebounds. Like that shit wins basketball games.
Yeah.
All right, rebounding wins effing basketball.
Like you said, no board. What is it? No rebounds, no rings.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've been thinking about Spo and everything also, and obviously I think that Nick Nurse and Budenholzer, they'll find new teams, but I think, especially since you would know better than most that Miami's had some tough years in the past. I think if they fired Spoelstra tomorrow, I think that 29 other teams in the league would be knocking on his door. That's just how highly I rate him.
Please don't put that in the air.
No, I know it's not going to happen.
I know. They're not going to fire Spo. Like under any.
Not for a long time, I don't think. I think the Heat are set. I mean, as long as Jimmy stays healthy and everything keeps going, I think this is starting to become the standard for the Miami Heat.
Yeah, no, Eric is phenomenal at what he's done, at what he does,
and his story, starting off in the video crew and just working his way up the totem pole. It is really an amazing story.
Yeah, and the Heat are very loyal to their own when it comes to like guys moving up in-house. Like their GM, Andy Ellisberg, was with the organization when it was founded as a PR intern. And this franchise, by the way, I think it started, it was its first season was 88, 89, I believe. And I want to say he may not have been a PR intern, but I know he was in the PR department. And he's moved his way up the ladder. Pat joined, I think, like 95 or like the mid 90s after that, the whole Knicks debacle.
Right.
And he's been the president of basketball ops since. I believe he's been the president of basketball ops since. I need to refresh myself on Heat history. That's my takeaway from this brief conversation. But like the Heat are very loyal to their own in terms of like guys moving up. I would say at least in that front office. Like I know, what's his name? Adam Simon's been there for a while. He's their vice president, or he's their assistant general manager. Like they have guys that have been there for a long, long time, and they're loyal to their own in that respective regard. And that's one thing I like about the organization. And there's not, it's a lot of continuity. And I know some people would point at that being like, well, sometimes change is good. And you're right. Sometimes the people are right. Sometimes change is good in the front office or in a coaching staff to offer the different perspectives. But like, I think the Miami Heat have done a very good job over the years of being, they've had continuity, and I think they have changed their ways over time. Like I think they've evolved with how basketball works. And I think like they're not going to fire Eric. I don't think they would ever do that. Like honestly, in any circumstance, if anything,
I think he's going to retire. I really think
he's either going to retire or leave on his own accord. But I don't even want to talk about that right now. But I've just
that's not happening for years. We have years and years before we have to worry about that.
Yeah.
But again, it's just a credit to. I knew from the beginning of this series. Again, the Knicks media, the New York media, they're all like, "Oh, the Knicks are going to steamroll Miami." I'm like, why are you putting that out there? Why are you giving the Miami Heat of all 30 teams in the NBA bulletin board material? They are the definition of F around and find out. That's true. It's also a classic rivalry. It is a pretty deep-rooted rivalry.
Yeah, like Knicks fans will talk shit. Heat fans.
I won't, Matt. I'm a respectful Knicks fan. I'm not going to talk down on the Heat.
I would say I would say for the most part I am too, when it comes to just the Heat side of things. But it's like Heat fans and Knicks fans will talk shit to each other. That's just how the way things will go. Like I again when we go on the Warriors Lakers convo, like. It's the same thing with those two fan bases. Again, I told you last week that I would be like annoyed by the discourse and everything that comes out of it, outside of the basketball, from like the national perspective, from the two sides of the fan perspective. But again, I have a dog in this fight, so I like it. In terms of like the Heat side of things, because I know if the Heat win the series, I'll probably talk my shit a little bit. Okay, if the Knicks win theirs, if the Knicks come back from 3-1 to win the series, they should absolutely talk their shit. They should be parading in the streets if that happens. So it's like I'm again, like I have one dog in the fight, so I'm not gonna sit here and be like, I'm not the one to generally talk shit, because I know the moment that I do, it's gonna come back and fire at me, because I'm self-aware enough to know that I'm a jinx when it comes to certain things. And so I know, like, the moment I talk the littlest of you know what, that'll just come back to bite me in the end. That's why specifically I tried my best. I don't know if I did or not. I tried my best last year in the Eastern Conference Finals to not talk shit to Trey, because I knew
the bait is out there. The bait was being pushed out there en masse.
Oh no, it absolutely was. I know Trey had the gif of like him dunking on me or something like that after every Celtics win, and I was like, I'm not going to take the bait. I'm pretty good at not taking bait, like 95% of the time. There's the 5% where I do take the bait, and I actually have gotten a lot better at that over time. But regardless, I think the Heat win this series in either 5 or 6 games.
Agreed.
Knock on wood. I didn't just jinx that. I think right now they're playing like the better team. There's nothing through these 4 games that have told me that they're not the better team. We've spent 40 minutes on this effing team. Probably should give some coverage to someone else.
I mean, I will say this, Matt.
This is what happens when you get a Knicks fan and a Heat fan on.
It's
on
also
the Daily
true.
Show.
After a game 4, but I will quickly say this: with the NBA playoffs in the NHL playoffs. We kind of talked about it last week. The Yankees' struggles have kind of been so exacerbated that I haven't even been watching them recently. I know
they won last night.
They did. Aaron
They won
Hicks hit a
last
home
night.
run.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Aaron Judge will be back pretty soon. I know. I think they said Tuesday's the earliest he'll get off the IL, but still, I mean, this team's just got a lot of work to do. And I think we can quickly talk about the Yankees because there really is not many good things to talk about other than the win over Oakland.
Can we talk about all right, I think it was Jackson the other day in the MLB Slack chat. Shout out Jackson.
Shout out Jackson.
He says in his years as like a Cardinals fan, he hasn't had anything like he hasn't experienced anything worse. I think that's what he said. Something along that tune. I just want to say I apologize, Jackson. I apologize for betting on your godforsaken team to win the NL Central. For betting on your team to win. I think I hit their over. I don't want to say I bet their over in wins. I don't remember what it was. I'm sorry, Jackson. It's my fault. I take full responsibility for these actions. We know I self-proclaim myself as Vendetta's worst better. Even though yesterday
Clay Thompson owes you a steak, Matt. He owes you something. He owes you an ice cream. He owes you something after that yesterday.
Yesterday I was on a heater. Not a parlay. It wasn't a parlay. Just want to put that out there. I went 10-1 yesterday. I put that in the Slack chat. Not that anybody cares about my bets because I promise to God no one does. But I just put it in there for the fun of it. I'm trying to put it in there to prove a point and how dog shit I am at this. But yesterday
you had a very good day yesterday. You had a great day.
But I apologize, Jackson. I apologize, all Cardinals fans. I even apologize to White Sox fans because I bet they're over too at 82 wins, and the White Sox stink right now. So again, I apologize to those two fan bases. I want to send not my condolence. I was gonna say send my condolences.
Yeah, I don't know the word, but I know what you're trying to convey.
I apologize for my preseason actions. I hope I can forgive you, or I hope you all out there watching, White Sox fans, Cardinals fans, can forgive me for my actions. But let me stop there because these two teams right now are complete blah. The Cardinals more so than the White Sox. The White Sox have actually like won more games lately. I know they didn't yesterday. They lost 12-5 to the Royals, but they've won more lately since Tim Anderson's come back. But nevertheless, I know. And to be fair, the Cardinals have won 2 straight, I think, after losing like 8 straight. But nevertheless,
exactly.
I did bet against the Cardinals today too. I bet it was -120 on your local sports book. The Cubs, I think, over the Cardinals money line. I think that was the only baseball bet that I've made so far today. I'll shut the fuck up about my betting.
It's all good, man.
Like,
I
feel if the Cardinals
win
today, I'll just keep betting against the Cardinals to make amends to the fans.
Exactly. Either you make money or the Cardinals win. So I think that's a pretty good hedge to put for Jackson and Cardinals fans everywhere. But I mean, I guess we could jump into that Lakers game because that was something. The Lonnie Walker show was in full effect in the fourth quarter, and also the Draymond Green Shaqtin' a Fool highlight reel was in full effect.
Oh my God.
As well.
No, this is why I tweeted this out last night after the game, and I've talked about this with you before. And I've talked about this with, I think, Germani and maybe and Jerry before. Depth matters at any point, or really at any point in the season. Depth act like it really matters because you never know who's going to get injured. You never know like what the case is in a certain game, like certain situations that players will be put in to succeed. And like yesterday was a prime example of that because, as I said before, and I'll say it again, sometimes we fetishize and we fawn over what the stars do in playoff games. All right, like with what Jimmy did in the Bucks series, with what Giannis has done at times in the playoffs when he had that 50-point game in the NBA Finals.
Steph
at
Curry,
times,
50-point game 7, like all sorts
Steph
of
Curry, 50-point game 7. I think the first player to, I think that was the most points ever by
highest
a player
scoring
in any
game
game.
7, yeah.
Yeah, like we fetishize over what happens in those types of games with the stars, with the superstars. And if a star has a shit performance, they'll hear about it from the media, national, local, whatever the case is. But like sometimes the guys 6, 7, 8, 9 have to step up and help you win those games. Lonnie Walker was a prime example of that. This dude wasn't in the rotation before game 3. He was getting garbage time minutes in game 2 when it was a 30-point game in the fourth quarter. Credit to Darvin Ham for seeing that, because Lonnie Walker was in the rotation the first half of the season. At least prior to the trade deadline, he was kind of booted out just from some of the depth pieces that they required or that they acquired. It was a little bit of a weird move because I thought Lonnie was like playing well. I thought he was one of their better spot up shooters that they had on their roster, because their roster is so shooting deficient. And he provided at least some requisite floor spacing. He sometimes gives that energetic spark that the Lakers need, or at least did in the first half of the season at times. But like, this dude wasn't in the rotation in the playoffs before game 3. Saturday? And now he gets 15 fourth quarter points. Scores all of his points in the fourth quarter. The Lakers
first guy since Kobe Bryant to do that in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, the Lakers were down 7 heading into that quarter. And the Warriors went on a little bit of a run to end that, being like, okay, like, is this like actually
how it's going to be?
Are the Warriors really going to close this out? And credit to Lonnie Walker. I thought it was a little bit of a weird Braun game. I thought, at least in the first half, Braun, he wasn't taking advantage of the
size. Yeah.
Like, it was weird. I was watching the game with my roommate, and I commented multiple times in the first half being like, LeBron has Steph on him and he's fading away in the post. Like, he's not taking advantage. He's passing out of these looks, and he's still doing a little bit in the fourth quarter, but they were hunting Steph down the stretch late in that game. And also the weirdest part to me, schematically speaking, the Warriors were hedging those Steph ball screens with Braun in the action, or Braun as the primary ball handler for most of this series. At least last night in that second half, especially late in that game, they were giving up that switch. And it's just like, what are you doing? You're giving him you're giving LeBron what he wants. He's wanting that Steph switch. And I know there was a couple possessions where the Lakers were pre-switching it, and so Clay was involved in the action and not Steph, but they were also just bringing up Steph's man, whomever that was, to also set a screen, and they were giving up that switch. And it's just like, why are you giving up that switch when you could just hedge the screen, go under it, make Braun beat you with Wiggins on him? Like, what are you doing with these? Like, schematically speaking, like, it just didn't make sense to me. And I'm watching it like losing my mind, because it's like you're giving the Lakers and you're giving LeBron James exactly what he wants late in this game. And credit to Braun for taking advantage of it. He was better in that second half, and in that fourth quarter, he wasn't settling as much. He was getting to the lane. He was getting to the rim. He drew a couple fouls, especially late, to put him to kind of lengthen that lead a little bit.
Especially AD was pretty quiet in the second half also.
Yeah, like, so it's like, credit to him for stepping up. He finished with 27 on 10 of 25 shooting. Like, it wasn't the most perfect Braun game. He had 9.6 assists as well. I mean, it looks good on the box score, but like, I just from the eye test standpoint, it wasn't the most perfect Braun game. I don't think we're expecting anything drastic of Braun at 30 years old, dealing with a foot injury, by the way. Like, he's still dealing with a bad foot.
Not 100%.
Yeah, like, Anthony Davis, I thought, was pretty good in that game. I mean,
first half he was great. Yeah,
he had 20. Yeah, he had 23 and 15. I mean, he's still defensively, no matter what, he's
dominant.
Been the best player of these playoffs, I would say. And I don't know if it's fairly close in terms of like what he's done on the defensive end. Like, he's swaying shots. He's rejecting everything that comes in his path. He's defending well in space. That sequence late last night where he defended Steph on the perimeter, I thought he did a phenomenal job defending
Absolutely.
Steph. Because defending Steph in space like that, like, it was almost Kevin Love-esque. I had someone subtweet me being like, that's Kevin Love-esque. It's like that. It kind of was Kevin Love, game 7 of the finals. Like, it kind of was like, he was just doing a good job staying in front. He wasn't baiting on anything. I want to say he was moving well. Like it was a good job by Anthony Davis down in that stretch. And I think he deserves all the credit in the world and then some for what he's done defensively, impacting this series. And I think he's been the most important player for the Lakers in this series because of what he's done on that end. I mean, I know they were putting him in a lot of ball screen actions, and the Warriors went away from that late in the game, which was a little bit weird to me. But they were putting him in a lot of like ball screen actions when Gary Payton was in the game. In that first half, those high pick and rolls, and the Warriors were creating 3-on-2, 4-on-3 advantages on the weak side out of that. And I thought that was probably their best like form of fashionable offense in that game, was just having the ball in Steph's hands and him operating out of the pick and roll. But it was a little bit weird to me how they went away from that a little bit late in that game. But again, credit just Anthony Davis. He didn't finish with the block last night, if I'm being just surprisingly enough, but he was really good.
Similar to Bam, I think his presence, like you said, he just has such
a presence. Like
presence.
Guys aren't going to go up. Like they see Anthony Davis in the lane and they want to either take a floater or they're going to kick out for a three or whatever.
Retreat to the perimeter, yeah.
Like even if he's not blocking a shot, like that shit's impact, because that's just the presence that you have. Guys don't want to get pinned against the glass, like they don't want to get their shit sent to the fourth row in crypto or in Chase. Like they don't want to.
Yeah, exactly. They don't want to get on Bleacher Report.
Yeah, like they don't want to get on the highlight tape of Anthony Davis blocking another shot. Like that's impact, and people don't talk about that enough. And I mean, LeBron's had that same impact over the years, like in transition. Like remember those transition blocks? I know there's definite times later in his career where guys wouldn't attempt transition layups when they saw Bron lurking behind him, because it's just like, again, yeah, he might be older, but they still don't want that highlight reel on their mixtape. Vanderbilt's done a better job this series, I think, rim protecting as well, especially when he's helping off of the Lakers or the Warriors non-shooters like Draymond. But
Rui's done well too, I think.
Oh, Rui's. I mean, he didn't get as many minutes yesterday. He only got 14, but he's done like throughout the series. I thought he's done well, and he was kind of that player where I was like, I would rather have Rui in here than Lonnie Walker, but Lonnie Walker played well. And so I'm not going to sit here and complain about it.
Yeah, he had the quarter of his life. I mean,
yeah.
And also, like what you were saying about AD, I think Bron has also really bought in defensively to this team. And what really stood out to me was that whole inbound play. I saw the Warriors were trying to run like a hammer set, and LeBron just completely read it like a book and just shut that down. And I think that's, especially like you said, in age 38, year 20, I think he's just really reinventing himself. And I think now, we're so used to these masterpieces like the 2018 finals game 1, a 50-point triple-double, and the play in the finals. But, he's just really just showing his dominance in completely new ways, which I think to his credit, and also more credit to Rob Pelinka, because, like you said, depth matters. And
depth
matters. I really think he hit a grand slam at that trade deadline looking back. And on Twitter, of course, it's none other than the Golden State Warriors fans crying about the Lakers have a stacked roster. The Lakers got saved at the trade deadline. Well, let's take a trip down memory lane over the last 5 to 10 years. And let's remember the type of rosters that the Golden State Warriors have had. Like, I don't, throwing stones in a glass house is all I'm going to say.
And just like, I'm looking at it right now, the Warriors got 21 points from their bench. The Lakers got 27.
It's not like game 4 in Miami. It's not like a 30-10 bench scoring split. Very much closer.
I mean, you would like I feel bad for the guy, because I do think he catches probably more shit than he should. But the series hasn't been the best for him. These playoffs certainly haven't been the best for him. But like Jordan Poole getting 10 minutes, going scoreless, 0-4 shooting, like it's been a rough go for him in the playoffs. And this was a guy last year that he was averaging like what, 17 points or something like that. Like he was getting his numbers in the playoffs and he was doing really well. And like it just hasn't been. He hasn't gotten a groove yet. And I think if you're Golden State, you're kind of relying on that, because your bench outside of that, like I know Looney's moved to the bench since.
You have like JaMychal Green or like.
Yeah, you're asking a lot of like Dante, who's had a rough series. I know he was better yesterday. at least offensively speaking.
And they
Jermichael
said
Green has given you
Looney is.
some.
You
Like
said
he
Looney
gave
was
you
sick,
some in
right?
game 2 when he started. He gave you a little bit in game 1. I mean, I've been impressed with Moses Moody. They closed with him yesterday. I thought that was really a really interesting decision because of everything that's kind of like surrounded that bench, like Moses Moody getting closing minutes.
Put that
And I
on your
thought,
bingo card.
yeah, like that's something like you just don't expect out of a rookie. Like people, again, he's a rookie. He's like 19, 20 years old. Like he's a young player. But I don't think that's something you would necessarily expect from him at this stage in a playoff game, especially when you're down 2-1 in a series. And so I just like you want more from your bench. The Lakers bench has been one of the best these playoffs.
Absolutely.
And that's just a credit to like what Hachimura has done. At times what Dennis Schroeder's done. So on and so forth. But
And
like
I
I think
think
they've gotten valuable production. Like yesterday with Lonnie Walker. You're getting 15 fourth quarter points from someone who, again, wasn't in your rotation for
and
most of the
especially
postseason.
with how much D'Lo struggled, and throughout the whole
Yeah.
playoffs, he's been another guy who struggled a lot. But
He was
just
better in
touching,
game 3, but yeah.
just touching really quick on Poole, it's really not a good situation because he's just inked the max, not max, but like a big time extension.
Yeah.
And now I saw on Twitter reports that the locker room is starting to really get sick of Poole. And you look at everywhere else in the NBA, who's going to want to take on that kind of player with that kind of contract?
We asked that about a lot of players.
Yeah.
All it takes is one team. Like we've said the same thing about Chris Paul.
That's true. Russell Westbrook, Chris Paul,
mid-30s, making $40+ million a year.
The Suns liked him.
I think with his contract, was it 4 for 128 was the number?
Something like that, yeah.
I'm gonna look and see what he's made because his contract doesn't kick in until next year, and so that's the thing where it's like he can still improve. He's 22, 23. Like I think we missed that when we talk about like Tyler was catching. He didn't catch the same strays, but Heat fans especially were critical of him this year with the way at times he played.
And I can tell you, RJ too. He got the extension, and Knicks fans have not always been on his side.
Yeah, but it's just like this extension won't kick in until next year. That's just how this works. I'm pulling it up right now on my screen. I think it was 4 for 128. That feels right.
It sounds like the number, but I'm just not 100% sure.
Yeah, it's 4 for 128. It's his extension kicks in next year. It'll be 28.7, 30.9, 33.1, and then 35.3 in the final year of his deal in 26 and 27.
Again, I'm a sick man at times, Matt, and I don't know why this just popped in my head, but I feel like that one team could be the Minnesota Timberwolves. I don't know why.
You
I
got
feel like
Timberwolves fan, Matt.
they would think that. I feel like they believe that he could complement Cat and Edwards, but also their salary situation is so messed up with Gobert, so it's probably not really on the books.
Yeah,
considering Ant needs the rookie extension, and you got
yeah,
Cat
I don't
and
think that
Gobert.
would work.
Yeah, unless you move out one of Cat or Gobert. Which I don't think Minnesota should really be thinking about right now. Only Rudy, but who else?
I mean, just going on the Wolves offseason talk, I don't know if they can move Gobert.
Oh yeah, that's also true.
At least yet after what happened last offseason. I just don't think.
Right. Yeah, I don't know what the rules.
Pennies on the dollar for that.
But
very
quick sidetrack. Yeah, in any case.
Anywho, yeah. I mean, I've been more and more impressed with like the Lakers defense. I mean, again, just piggybacking off the 80 point, I think I continue to be more and more impressed with the Lakers defensively the more I watch them these playoffs. And again, they were one of the best defensive teams in the regular season after the trade deadline, after the All-Star break. And now I think it's being put on a national spectrum. Not that it wasn't already, but I think more and more people are now seeing it. And I think a big part of that has to do with the Anthony Davises of the world, the Jared Vanderbilts of the world. And as you go down the line, like if you're able to take Anthony Davis out of a playoff series with it just bringing him away from the rim, then you're doing good for yourself, but like who knows how many times you're going to be able to do that. And the
Steve
Warriors
Kerr.
have to shoot better from three. I mean, the Warriors were 12 of 41 from three.
You don't see a 3 of 14 night from Steph Curry very often.
No.
That is very, very, very.
I mean, Clay was 3 of 9. Like you want more. You want more than just going 6 of 23 from your two best 3-point shooters.
And then obviously
6 from Andrew Wiggins.
Right.
Like you just want more from that, and I expect the Warriors to come out guns and blazing in Game 5. But
I was going to
you
say
think
that
this series goes to 6, or do you think even this series goes to 7? Like, where are you?
I mean, I saw like inside the NBA, they were kind of like speculating on it.
Yeah.
And it's just like the Knicks. Not only do you want more from them, you need more from them, because if not, your season's over. And again, like the Knicks, I think Golden State's going to give it their best effort. Obviously, they are a considerably better team at home with their own fans behind them. But again, I think, and I don't know if what his status is, I really do think Kevon Looney has a much more important role to this team than many people realize. I think having a traditional big man, I mean, obviously you saw it back when they were, blowing through teams. You had the two-man unit of JaVale McGee and Zaza Pachulia. Obviously, that's bottom of the barrel. And you had a young Kevon Looney just on the bench being able to be in that environment. And I think, he saved the Warriors season in a certain respect against Sacramento when things really didn't look good. He was great against Sacramento, and I think he's really been missed by the Warriors. I think especially, like we've said, AD's just been so dominant, and in part because he's the biggest guy on the floor pretty much the entire time.
Yeah, and it's like I think when it came out, it was either game 2 or 3 that he was dealing with like an illness.
Yeah, they said that. I heard at the beginning of Game 4 they were still like he kind of recovered, but still not good enough to play.
Yeah, like I don't know how much that is affecting his minutes. I don't know how much that's affecting his conditioning. I don't know if it's just the Warriors want to go smaller to kind of put more pressure on like the D'Angelo Russells, or even like the Austin Reeves of the world. Like I heard that argument last night. It made a little bit of sense why they went with Gary Payton instead of JaMychal Green or someone else, just to kind of counter what D'Angelo Russell is doing, because they don't want Clay or Steph on him, which I guess makes a little bit of sense from that perspective. They were using Peyton as, again, kind of that pick and roll man, and he was doing a good job in those short roll situations with Davis on him because he's quicker than Davis, and he can get to the rim and finish even if Davis is lurking behind him. And so he was doing a good job in that respect as well early in that game. So I guess that move made a little bit of sense. The Warriors, we've known over the years, they want to push the pace in transition. They want to be quicker than you. They want to be faster than you. And Peyton also provides that. We saw in the fourth quarter, I think yesterday, or it was either the fourth quarter or the third quarter, where Peyton had like that 9-0 stretch or something like that, or that 7-0 stretch where he had a few layups. He knocks down a corner 3. The Warriors go ahead. And like a lot of that was in transition. And so it's like he provides, and he's also just a really good defender. And so he provides all of those things. So it makes a little bit of sense why they went to him in that situation yesterday, the more I just talk out loud and think about it. But like, I wonder how much that is affecting Looney's minutes load. I don't know if we'll ever fully know until after the series. We may not know at all. But like, there's a little bit, like if you read the tea leaves a little bit, just the way these lineups are constructed. Like I know they don't want the Looney Draymond lineups a lot because of the floor spacing and how Davis and Vanderbilt can play off those two players, but I wouldn't hate the Warriors going like, I don't know, instead of using that lineup for 25 minutes, use it for 10 to 15, at least get a little bit more size and sturdiness in there. I don't know how much they used it yesterday. I'd have to go back and look, but I'm just from a general perspective, I wouldn't hate them going back to those lineups at certain points in certain situations. But nevertheless, I mean, hats off to the Lakers. I didn't think they were going to win that game yesterday, if I'm being completely honest with you, especially heading into that fourth quarter. I just thought the Warriors would bounce back from being 2-1. But hey, I was wrong. And again,
they got it done.
The way we started this conversation, credit to Lonnie Walker, man. I always love those feel-good stories. Because Lonnie, if I'm being completely honest, has been through a lot in his career. Like
course.
I'm not gonna go into the bad shit, but has been through some bad shit, just not in his NBA career, but like throughout his life.
Personally, yeah.
And you can look that up. I'm not gonna go into in
Yeah.
depth about it. But like he's also shared it on his Instagram too. But like, just it's cool seeing those stories and seeing that like come to life. Like watching him go off for 15 in the fourth quarter, it's just a really cool thing. And like just someone who loves the game of basketball and loves the NBA and loves like this
Just being there,
doing
yeah.
and this stuff. Like it's always nice. Like I'm not a narrative driven guy, but like it's always nice to see like the feel good stories and um
100%.
players capitalizing and winning playoff games when they're not expected to win playoff games. It's just it warms my heart from someone without a dog in the fight. Especially I'd probably be a little bit more upset if it was like someone against Miami, but
Right.
regardless, I still like those feel good stories. And I think Lonnie deserves a spot in the rotation, especially after what he did in game 4 throughout the rest of this series. And I think that goes without mentioning.
Absolutely.
I
I'm
think he's earned it.
100% with you there. And I'm very interested in seeing both of the game fives tomorrow. I think at least one of the teams losing will win. I'm not sure if it's the Knicks or the Warriors. I think one of the series will be done tomorrow night. Again, it's a crapshoot. I don't know which. But what are you thinking next, man? I mean, we got some time. I mean,
We didn't
anything else
talk
you think?
Lakers Celtic or Celtics Sixers last
Oh,
night.
yeah. I mean, that game 4 was I mean, Marcus Smart was about a couple tenths of a second away from
Oh man.
really scaring the you know what out of Sixers fans.
If you were a Celtics fan right now, would you be confident in this series?
In
Like,
my heart
let
of
me just
hearts,
ask you. If you pretend you're a Celtics fan for a second. I know that's kind of sacrilegious for both of us. But like, if you were a Celtics fan, like on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident would you be?
I mean, I honestly give
10 being
myself
the most confident.
yeah, I'd give myself a 7. I think in
Okay.
my heart of hearts, this is the Philadelphia 76ers. We haven't seen them reach the conference finals since Allen Iverson was in town. And
Okay.
again, maybe this is the year that Embiid finally gets over the hump. Maybe Harden, finally is able to shed a few labels about his. I mean, obviously he's had 2 really good games in this series, but still, I still feel confident. I still think that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. I'd rather have that duo over James Harden and Joel Embiid. I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but I just think that in terms of postseason performance, obviously we saw it last year. Tatum and Brown are a little more built for the moment than arguably. And then you saw it with the Heat last year with Harden and Embiid.
Yeah.
Even though
Albeit
Embiid,
the
like you
injured
said, was
Harden
still a
or
little
injured Embiid.
injured. There's
Yeah.
maybe some asterisks, but still, I still think the Celtics. I mean, I think Game 5 wins the series, and I really don't see the Celtics losing Game 5. I don't see another repeated Game 1 where Harden puts the team on his back or Embiid if he's there. I think that the Celtics, maybe not a blowout, but I think that's going to be a wire-to-wire win tomorrow or tonight.
Okay, I would probably say if I were a Celtics fan, I would probably have a similar 6 or 7. But I mean, I know I had the Celtics in 5 heading into the series, and I know I was like I could be talked into a Celtics in 6 or even like a Celtics in 7 if it came to that result.
Right.
The Sixers needed 2 40-point games from James Harden to win these 2 games. I hope that doesn't go like without mentioning. He was phenomenal in game 1, games 2 and 3. I think Jalen deserves a whole shit ton of credit for how he's defended Harden this series,
Absolutely.
especially in games 2 and 3. But I also do think a part of it was Harden being a little bit more passive, especially in game 3. But he was more passive in those 2 games, and it was just like we just saw him being the ultra aggressive Harden in game 1. Like what the hell?
Yeah.
And then of course in game 4, he was really good down the stretch. He and PJ both. Harden wasn't as good in the fourth quarter, or not Harden. Embiid wasn't as good in the fourth quarter. After starting out pretty hot, but I would probably go with 6 or 7 as well. But like, there's just sometimes the late game situations with Boston where I'm like,
They don't
I'm
execute. Yeah.
questioning what exactly the thought process is behind some of these decisions. And I'm sure you could say that about every team in the NBA
Oh,
at
but
certain
still, I
points in a
mean,
game. But like, I feel like I don't know how many times I've ran into this conversation or I've seen this conversation on social media or on TV, or I've just even thought about it by myself. Like, okay, should Boston call the timeout?
oh,
They
me, are you
didn't
asking
do
me?
it at the end of regulation. They didn't do it in overtime. I know there's multiple points during the regular season where they didn't do it. And Missoula's thing this entire time is being like, I trust my guys. And it's like, I get that. And I also get it from the perspective of when you call that timeout, well, guess Maxi's coming off the floor. Guess he's probably going on the floor. A guy
Yeah.
like
What was
Jalen
that?
McDaniels
Oh
or
yeah, McDaniel's right.
something like that. Like they're going to put better matchups on Jalen and Jason instead of like Tyrese Maxey again. Like I know they'll get caught up in those cross matches or whatnot. And I think Boston's problem also would, especially, I think, especially in overtime, but at the end of regulation too, they're just going too late. Like they're starting with 4.5 seconds left.
It's
And it's
just
like,
not enough time.
as we saw in overtime, if you start 2 milliseconds earlier, well, guess what? You win the game.
Yeah.
Like, like just it's those little things, but at the same time, it's like, okay, why are you doubling off of James Harden, who's red hot in the corner, with Joel Embiid in the post in a 2-point game?
That's not smart.
That's not smart. And I know Al after the game was like, that was like a defensive like miscue. And I'm sure that's probably the consensus. Like that, it was like I watched that live. I was like, wait, what? Like it's a 2-point game. At worst, just let Embiid tie it,
Or
and
foul him
you
and make
get
sure he misses it.
yeah, it was something like that. Yeah, I don't know what the foul situation was like. I think it was Al on.
Oh yeah, I didn't know
Embiid
if
at the
the
time.
Sixers
But
were in
like
the bonus.
regardless, I thought Horford did a phenomenal job on Embiid in that fourth quarter and in overtime. Like it felt like he was contesting everything at the rim. I know he had a few blocks mixed in there. I thought he was really good.
I thought so too.
But just like when I guess it's Embiid was probably in a deeper position than you would like him to be. But again, like make him make the tough one. Make him make it over Horford or whomever's guarding,
Yeah.
whoever's defending him. I don't remember who was helping off that situation, but it's like you don't need Jalen helping off of Harden. You just don't. You really don't. Like
They have themselves to blame as a result.
yeah. Um, but
And now,
they needed two Herculean performances from Harden to
I mean,
beat
it's like you
Boston.
said. I mean, they were 2 milliseconds away, and now
Yeah.
Philly has a chance. I can say Philly has a chance.
I mean, they were up. They should have won that game in regulation. They were up
Oh yeah.
16 in the third quarter, and they were up, I think, nearly double digits. I think it was like 8 or 9 points, whatever it was, in the fourth quarter. And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, you're getting. I mean, Jason was awesome late in that game. I know Horford had that go-ahead dunk to make it 98-96. Like they had multiple key stops, and it looked like Philly's offense was slowed down a little bit, and it became a lot more isolation ball. I thought, especially early in the first half and through those first 3 quarters, the ball was moving really well, and they were getting good offense out of that, regardless if it was Harden and Embiid, whatever the case was. I thought the ball was moving really well, and it just felt like they went away from that in that fourth quarter, and the offense was slowed down, and they were trying to run time off the clock, and you weren't getting as good looks as you were through those first 3 quarters. And I thought that was also part of their downfall. But like they had a chance to win that game in regulation, and they nearly blew it then too. Like Boston takes the lead, and at least you're able to tie it. I think it was at like 105 or whatever it was heading into overtime. But Smart misses that 3-pointer, and then obviously we saw what happened. Harden makes that 3 in overtime to win it. Smart doesn't get the shot off in time, which is like if you have 15 seconds left on the shot clock again or on the game clock, you got to make. You got to go. You can't wait until 4 seconds. You just can't.
Then that's what they tell you in high school. It's not, it's not NBA. You don't need to be a professional to know that. It is just like you said. It's like fundamental things. It's kind of like silly mistakes that had they corrected those silly mistakes. I mean, it's very possible that they could have even swept the series. I mean, I'm not going to nitpick that much, but I mean, I think we can all agree that the talent is there on Boston. They were, for a good stretch of the regular season, the best team in the league. But
I still think they are.
I think that,
or at least the best team left.
Yeah, I mean, I still think that at times they can be their own worst enemy.
Yeah, no, that's exactly how it is. Because I mean, there especially has been times during the regular season where Boston will be up 15 points. Shooting variance is shooting variance. It affects their defensive play. Next thing you know, they're down 1. And it's just like, wait, they were just up double digits like 3 minutes ago. What the hell happened? And that's kind of been the volatility of Boston this season in certain spots. Like, of course, that I can't forget about that Nets game at home when they were up 28 and lost by almost double digits, I think. But like, that's just sometimes the volatility of Boston. They were missing open shots. That's the shooting variance with 3-point shooting. They still hit 39% of them, because I think they had, especially a few going late. But like, that's just the shooting variant. That's just the shoot. They were missing open shots. They were down in a hole early. Jalen picks up 2 early fouls. Harden gets cooking. Embiid was
things
playing
were
very
moving
well.
fast, and they couldn't. Yeah.
And so it's like that's stuff that happens sometimes. I still think Boston wins tonight, and I still think they close in 6. But
agreed.
I hope it's as someone who has a team that's up 3-1 in the series on the other side of the bracket. I hope Philly and Boston, I hope they have each of their next 2 games at least. I hope go 3 overtimes.
Embiid and Harden play 50-plus minutes.
I hope the team that's walking out of this metaphorically is like limping, like dragging like one leg as they're entering the Eastern Conference Finals. I certainly hope
very well
could
happen.
Because again, I just want like a 3 overtime, 4 overtime, like just teams completely beating the hell out of each other. I'm not wishing injury, but I'm just hoping for a physical, mucky, masochistic, like just old school. Like give me the dog, give me the physicality, give me the dog fight, give me just teams beating the hell out of each other for 48+ minutes in terms of like
some Bill Russell versus Wilt Chamberlain throwback.
Yeah, give me some like bad boys. Actually, no, I don't want the bad boys. Give me some like because again, I don't want anyone to get hurt, but like just give me a team just beating the heck out of each other, just physically. From like a basketball perspective for 48+ minutes. I hope it goes 3 overtimes. That's just what I want as a team who's on the other side of that bracket. And I want that for the next 3 games. I want it game 7. Give me games. I want chaos. Give me chaos. And
we need chaos.
Celtics Sixers.
Yeah. Speaking of chaos, how about the Nuggets and the Suns?
I mean, Devin Booker is playing some of the most ethical.
Is he the best player on the Phoenix Suns right now?
Huh?
I had to say it. Is he the best player on the Phoenix Suns right now?
He's playing like it.
He is certainly playing like it.
He's definitely
you can't
playing
deny
like
that.
It. What'd you think about what happened with Embiid and Matt Ishbia? I know we're going off.
I mean, I know that I'm pretty sure that the letter of the law in the NBA these days is that it would be an automatic suspension, but I think it's good sportsmanship on Ishbia's part to call for not a non-suspension, and obviously it was just a fine, and he's going to play tonight. And I think that's the best for all parties involved, because I think potentially giving the Suns a stimulus package and suspending Jokic, I think that would really ruin what's been an excellent series so far.
Yeah.
And I think
No,
this is the most important game. I think even if it goes 6 or 7, this game right here is going to be the flag that you stick in the ground and for either team.
yeah, no, I completely agree from that. And shout out Devin Booker. He's averaging 37 points this series on just absurd efficiency.
I remember it
Yeah,
was, I
36 and
forget,
12 in game 3, or no, game 4, excuse me.
I think it was I forget the broadcast crew who was on it. I think it might have been what's his name? Might have been like Dennis Scott or something, and or Ian Eagle was like, he's like, do you know that Devin Booker has made 32 of his last 40 field goal attempts? And then whoever the analyst was, he was like, what? Like
Yeah,
he was like, excuse me? He was like in disbelief. And it's true. Like Michael Jordan didn't even shoot 80% at this kind of a stretch in the playoffs. Like, I mean, I could be wrong, but this is just unheard of.
yeah. No, he's made what, I'm doing the quick math in my head right now. He's made 34 or 42.
It's just unbelievable.
These last 2 games at least.
Yeah, obviously at home, but I personally think I think it's gonna travel. I think he's gonna be able to bring his
83
game
combined points.
up to Denver, and maybe not another, 40 something 80% shooting, whatever, but I think he'll get at least 50% shooting and at least 30 points tonight.
I know I was looking at, and I'm going back to the Degenerate Better show. I was looking at his I'll disclose this. The sports book that I use, it's going to go unnamed for the sake of me just ripping them to shreds half the time, but they don't offer a lot of props during the regular season, or they don't offer any props during the regular season. They offer like a few each for the postseason, but I was looking at Booker's over under this morning and it was 32, I think. And 32. That's gone progressively up throughout the series. I'm thinking about it just in my head right now. I haven't done it yet. And and again, since I was good yesterday and since I'm a degenerate and I want to prove a point, I'll probably put them in the Slack today. Because
you
again,
should, man. I enjoy it.
I hope fade them. You will win the most money, except last night. But yeah, I was looking at it was 32. He's averaging 37 points on 62% shooting, or no, it was 37 points like this series. I think he's shooting like 62% for these playoffs. Let me look up.
Just disgusting. It's disgusting stuff.
Let me look up what he's doing these playoffs. I should probably know this because I'm on camera doing this, but I don't because I'm an idiot.
Don't be silly. Let me see.
36.3 points on 64% shooting, 57% from 3-point range, 89.5% from the free throw line on 5 attempts, along with 5 rebounds, 8.8 assists, so 9 assists, 1.5 steals, 1 block in 42 minutes a game. At least this series.
And the craziest thing is, like, Kevin Durant has known this guy could play since he was in high school. Like, I think
Kevin Durant, like,
that's some quote I saw. He's like I knew Book could play since high school. Like, he's been to my camps, like all this stuff, and now they're, I think if they get past the Nuggets, I think obviously, like you said, the Lakers are 3-1 on the Warriors, a Suns versus Lakers conference finals. I think that Twitter would just burn down. I think Twitter would just burn to the ground.
I'm honestly, if I'm being completely honest with you, I'm rooting for a Nuggets Lakers.
Oh, I am too. A repeat of the bubble, no less.
Yeah. No, I mean,
obviously, I'm leaving it. I'm leaving it at that.
Yeah, but like, I'm more so rooting for the company parody.
I know. Shout out Garrett. I know he's taking a lot of flack from Trey.
If you all are watching, make sure to like the video. Obviously, I'm sure you both are subscribed. Everyone who's watching this, please subscribe if you can.
Please.
But regardless, like, I'm rooting for a Nuggets Lakers at this point. But I would not mind. Again, I'm rooting for 7 games in all of these non-Heat series. So just give me chaos left and right. I would not mind a 7-game series between Denver and Phoenix. I would not mind Phoenix winning the series, obviously. Or if I'm being completely honest, I would not mind. But yeah, no, Twitter would definitely break if it was LeBron, Durant,
Durant, first time
Booker,
they play each
Anthony
other in like
Davis.
years
Yeah, it'd be the first time since.
since Durant was on Golden State and
Yeah, I
LeBron's
was gonna
first year in
say.
LA.
Yeah, I was
It's
trying to think if there
crazy.
was something in between then, but I was like, the Lakers have hardly made the
They have
playoffs.
both been injured each and every time.
Yeah, and of course during that time Durant was in Brooklyn, so that wasn't the
That's
case.
true. He
Yeah,
also had his Achilles and all that
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
But again, I think it's gonna be a great series. I think that Jokic could explode again. I feel like Jokic could just have like a 40, 50 point triple double, like just effortless. But I think
He
it
had
really just
53 in Game 4, and it's the least talked about 53 points that I can remember in recent memory, just because of the Ishbia stuff.
yeah, and I think if they won that it would have been talked about a little more.
That's true.
But
That's
I
true.
think that I think it really just comes down to Jamal Murray, Michael Porter. I think obviously Jokic is doing just about everything he can. He needs some help.
Yeah,
But also, we know Jamal Murray is a playoff guy. Like he brings his game up this time of year.
he struggled at least from beyond the arc these last couple of games, though. But
True,
I think he'll be better.
very very true.
I think he'll be better in Denver. I don't know how much. Again, altitude is a weird thing when it comes to this stuff. I don't know how much that's going to affect the result of Game 5. I still think Denver's going to win regardless. You want more from your bench if you're Denver. If I'm being honest, like I didn't always love the Jeff Green minutes in games 3 and 4. I guess game 3 it was better, but game 4 I didn't love it that much. But also like, hats off to Jock Landale. Like
Jock Landale. Yeah, I think he did
I
very
think
well in
he's
his
been
role.
like, I know Aiden's struggled a little bit. I thought he was much better in game 4 than he was in game 3, but I mean, he's struggled a little bit with the rhythm and trying to get in the rhythm. I know he's had some miscues defensively and on the glass that
Media's
that
kind of been griping him also.
media's been hitting him hard, and I just don't think that relationship with he and Monty has gotten any better since the end of last season, if I'm being completely honest.
I'm
But
with
again,
you.
I'm not in that locker room, but I think Jock has done a really good job competing on both ends of the floor for Phoenix, especially on the glass defensively. And he's competing for offensive rebounds. Like, he's just trying to do as much to win those minutes as possible. And I think he's done. I don't have the stats in front of me from what he's done these last 2 games, but just from an impact standpoint, like, you could feel his impact more, I think, than Ayton. Which, I mean, I want DeAndre Ayton to be a good basketball player, or at least be impactful in these games. But shout out to Jock for really stepping up, because I mean, I thought at least these last previous 2 seasons, I thought JaVale did a good job in that role, or at least last season. I thought he was
Yeah,
much better in that role as that backup big, and Jock kind of took that reins from him this season when
Bismack.
JaVale was
Is
out.
is he hurt? Is Biombo hurt, or is he? I think he's just been struggling, right?
I don't know. He was a DNP.
Oh, he's a D. Oh wow. But
He was a
I mean,
DNP.
also,
I don't think he's hurt. Not that I'm aware of. He might be. I'm not
but
sure.
to your
But
point, shout
especially,
out Jock.
yeah, Jock. Looking at it right now, he was a plus 16 in 21 minutes in game 4.
Wow.
And so I don't know what that is. I don't know what it is for the series. Again, I don't have it pulled up. I just now pulled this up, but so that was just refreshing my memory from what happened, because it feels like these games have happened like 7 years ago, dude. So
I know it's
refreshing.
only we all have the recency bias. I'm still like digesting the Lakers and the Knicks last night,
Right. Like,
but
yeah, Knicks, the Heat just takes so much out of me. Just every single game, it just takes so much out of me, just in general. If I'm being just completely honest,
you can imagine the Knicks have a similar effect on me too. Win or
yeah,
loss, I'm just completely drained after each win. I don't even want to go on Twitter, or I don't want to do anything.
yeah. Well, I mean, I gotta go on Twitter because I mean, again, part of it's my job, but like, again,
Fair enough.
sometimes I'm just like after these games, there's just days where I'm like, I don't want to look at a screen at all for like the rest of the day. Like, I'm good. I do anyways, but I'm just like, sometimes I'm good.
There's certainly some burnout. I'm sure we're not the only ones. Just I mean, to the
Right.
credit of the NBA, I think this has been one of the best playoffs in a long time. And obviously, the finals matchup at face value, it looks like it could be very good. Obviously, it may kind of teeter off, but I'm looking forward to it, man.
Yeah. No, I am too. But yeah, shout out Jock Lawndale. Shout out Terrence Ross for giving them some pretty good
Terrence
bench minutes
Ross.
as well.
Shout out, what's his name? Landry Shamit. He went
Oh my
ballistic in the
God,
fourth quarter.
I can't believe I forgot the
That's
Landry
literally what we
Shamet
were saying. Like
14
it
points.
literally feels like decades since these games.
Again, I'm sorry, audience. I'm sorry, whoever's watching this. I know I'm not as good as my job as you would hope for me to be on camera. But yeah, no, dude, Landry Shamit turning into Klay Thompson in the fourth quarter.
It took me an
Like,
hour and a half to remember that too, but no worries.
I got to be better. He had 19 points, 14 in the fourth. That's what it was. But
Yeah,
regardless,
he was lighting them up.
I got to be better. I got to be better. But Landry Shamit doesn't, because Landry
Shamit and Lonnie Walker, they both got their flowers in consecutive nights.
Yeah. And as someone who bet the Nuggets money line in game 4, I was like, Landry Shamit, what the hell, dude? Again, I like the feel good story, but it's just like, awesome.
I hope you get stuck in traffic, Landry Shamit.
No, I don't wish that. I don't wish that. But no, shout out Landry Shamit. Shout out Landry Shamit. He was, again, someone who's taken a lot of shit.
Bounced around the league a lot.
This postseason, yeah, he's been around the league a lot. He's taken a lot of shit, and just with this postseason play throughout these last few years, regardless of where he's been at, it's nice to see him get 19 points on 6 and 9 shooting with 5 threes in 30 minutes in a playoff game, in a crucial playoff game where they're down 2-1. They're down 2-1, and it's a must-win playoff game for the series to still be alive against a very, very, very good Denver team.
3-1 would be dangerous.
Again, guys, goes to my point, guys. 6, 7, and 8 help you win a playoff game.
Yeah.
Much as Devin Booker, we would love his 36 and 12. As much as we'd love Kevin Durant's 36. If Landry Shamit is getting you 19 points off the bench, which is outscoring the Denver Nuggets bench by himself, you're doing a good thing.
Yeah,
you're helping win games.
There you go. I mean, it's that simple. And of course, I was thinking to myself, isn't it poetic that there's both a 3-1 and a 2-2 series for each conference?
I mean, maybe. I hope it goes both set. I hope 3 of the 4 series go 7 games. I know the one that you don't think, or I know the one that I don't think goes 7, or I don't want to go 7. I cannot talk.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Goodness gracious. It's like fumbling. It's like missing a layup in transition. My God,
that's all good.
But nevertheless, do you think Denver wins tonight? What are your predictions?
I mean, it's tough. I mean, I think it really just comes down to that supporting cast for the Nuggets. I think that I feel like Durant may kind of have his say, because we've seen Booker just kind of go nuclear, and Durant, even in the Clippers series, he has been playing a little conservative. He's kind of still feeling things out, even though, what is this, his 15th year in the league? He's got the 2 rings in Golden State. I mean, obviously he is on the record at saying he could care less about his legacy or whatever he's defined as after he retires. But I don't know. I think that Durant may have to remind some people who he is tonight, but that's not a guarantee at all.
Well, I mean, it's going back to the Clippers series, he was working off the ball more than I think that we're accustomed to Kevin.
And still, I mean, he was injured for a big chunk of the end of the regular season, so he still is trying to figure out. This is still a pretty new team to him.
Right, like
I can't
especially know there were plenty of times where Durant was like stationed in the corner or stationed on the wing and not really moving off the ball when the ball was in Booker or Chris Paul at the time in both of their hands. And so I think it was still a little bit of an adjustment for him, as we saw it in games 1 and 2. Aaron Gordon was doing a really good job on Durant. I think he did a good job, especially at the start of game 3. I know Durant struggled a little bit at first, but Durant was then getting to the line and he was converting from the free throw line, and that kind of got him in the groove a little bit. And he finished the game with like 39 points or 38 points, something like that. So like when you look at it in the end, it's not as detrimental as at least the start was. But I think Aaron Gordon has done a fairly good job on him this series, and yet Durant's still going to get his. So I mean, he might go off. But I'm just interested to see how Phoenix plays just in the altitude, because again, that's just difficult to adjust to. And like really no matter what, like that's the one home court advantage to an extent that the Nuggets have over everyone else.
I mean, I was thinking about this to myself, and this is really the last thing I have for the show is obviously the Nuggets have never been in the NBA Finals, so we've never really had to talk about the change in altitude, and I think especially if they do get past Phoenix and whether the Lakers or Warriors, if they can knock them out in the conference finals, it will be the first time that the NBA Finals will be in the Mile High State, and I think that could certainly play an effect.
Yeah.
Going back and forth between either whatever city in the East and then Denver. I think that could, I'm sure the media will take that in some direction if the Nuggets do make the finals.
Yeah. Yeah, because that can affect how your legs are. That can affect your conditioning. That can affect shooting.
A lot, yeah.
And so, yeah, no, I have no idea how that will play out, but that's certainly something to like monitor.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just be interested in seeing how that all plays out. But that's just a little minor kind of tidbit that I was thinking about. But I mean, again, four great series so far, and now we're going to start to see the end for all of them.
Yeah. Who do you think? Okay, so like I know I asked you like as we were going through each series, but who do you think wins each of these 4 series?
And how many games?
Now. No, like just wins. You just
Knicks Miami. I'm taking Miami. I'm sorry, Knicks Nation, but I think I've seen enough where they're not going to mount any big 3-1 comeback. Warriors Lakers, obviously Lakers. I think it's either 5 or 6, kind of similar to Miami. They just really have been the better team on both ends of the floor. Phoenix and Denver. I do think, even though I've been kind of riding on them, I do have a sneaky suspicion that Denver's going to pull it out just because they do have the home game 7, which I think could really play a major role if it gets to that. And then Philly and the Celtics, I think the Celtics are going to find a way either in 5 or 6. I just don't think it's the year for Philly for them to really, especially against the Celtics. If it was against a different opponent in the second round, again, we think back to the 2019 playoffs when Jimmy Butler was in Philly. I don't think they're going to have a better chance than that against the Raptors and that famous shot from Kawhi. I really think that, at least for the Joel Embiid era for the Philadelphia 76ers, I think their best shot at a title is come and gone.
No, I agree with all 4 of those picks, and it's just funny how all 4 of those teams were in the conference finals in the bubble.
I think we can all put some respect on the bubble now. I definitely have changed my tune. I think that's like what the players have said. That's where real basketball took place.
I've been on record saying that the bubble wasn't a fluke. So
I'm with you. I don't think it was a fluke.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna double, triple, quadruple. Is it quintuple? Whatever it is.
Double down.
I don't even know what the 6 is, but I'm downing on it.
Sextuple down.
Is that what sextuple?
I think yeah, something like that. Some weird like Latin or whatever.
I have no idea what it is. My brain isn't big enough for that.
Regardless, it's outside of my pay range, but I think the NBA is
stamping my foot.
Yeah, exactly.
No, yeah.
Anything else on your mind, man?
Well, I told you I wanted to talk some hockey because as the hockey casual of the Vendetta Sports Media Daily Show, I have to pick your brain because we are in the thick and thin of the hockey season, or in the hockey playoffs.
Right.
The hockey playoffs. Some interesting shit has happened.
Put it lightly.
The Florida Panthers. I have become an honorary Florida Panthers fan.
I think I am too. And honestly, now
because that the Islanders, of my guys in the 305, my Heat friends, my Heat fans, they're just in the 305. For this postseason, maybe forever. I don't know. I haven't made up my mind yet. I've become an honorary Florida Panthers fan.
I mean, you have another horse in there. You could go for the Vegas Golden Knights too, man. You got some options.
Listen, I could, but again, as an honorary Panthers fan, they're up 3-0 on the Leafs.
I think they're closing it out tonight, if you ask me.
Okay. I mean, part of me feels bad for Maple Leaf fans because I know they've.
Shout out Scott. I'm sorry, Scott. It's been tough. I mean, great that they won the first round. Obviously, it's a big milestone, and rightfully so. It's been a long time since they won a playoff series, but you just hate to see it go like this. And I just don't know if the Leafs can. I mean, maybe if they win it, bring it back to home ice, maybe something happens in Game 5. But you can't even look that far ahead.
Is this a instance of like the hot goalie, or is this like an offensive
It's
outburst? Like, what
surprisingly
exactly is this Florida
surprisingly
Panthers
I would say yes, it is the case of the hot goalie because they have this guy named Bobrovsky who
Yeah,
he signed a monster deal in Florida in 2019. He's been a great goalie. He used to play in Columbus. He won a couple the Vezina, the goalie of the year. He won a couple of those goalie of the year awards in Columbus. Been a great guy for his career. Comes to Florida, instantly just not the same guy, especially in the playoffs. Like he's been borderline unplayable in the playoffs the past 2 seasons, but now he's kind of come out of the blue and he's just been amazing. Obviously against the Bruins, he shut the door on them, and then the Maple Leafs. I don't think it's maybe this is a hot take, but I don't think he's played better hockey in his career than he is right now. He's really he's the players say he's a fun guy to be around, a good presence in the locker room. And again, credit to this Panthers team. They were by and far the best regular season team last year. They won, the President's Trophy is what the best record in the regular season gets, and they lost in the second round last year to Tampa. And obviously, it helps that their arch rivals in Tampa were taken out by none other than the Maple Leafs. Really did them a huge favor, and now I think they could realistically make the finals. I think, or the Stanley Cup Finals. You see, it's either the Devils or the Hurricanes on the other side. And again, the Hurricanes, I can tell you as an Islanders fan, they are not a fun team to play against. They will frustrate you and they will really get under your skin. But I think especially with their star guy in Florida, this guy Kachuk, and you may have seen Trey wrote a couple of articles about him last year and stuff.
He was the one that was traded for Huberdeau, right?
Yes, and he's a phenomenal player. I think when you write a list of the 10 best players in the league, he's got to be in that list. But he has taken his game to another level in the playoffs, and to his credit, the guys around him have too. And it's like we said about Lonnie Walker and others. It's just a feel good story for this Florida Panthers team because for many years they have been kind of just the doormat of the league. They've been kind of forgotten about, and now this is their real moment to shine.
Yeah, because it's like, I'll be honest, heading into Game 3, I was like, okay, I think even though I just even though it was Toronto on the road, I was like, I just think Toronto is going to win this, not knowing who the hell is on Toronto outside of John Tavares, not knowing who the hell is on Florida outside of Kachuk, Reinhart, etc., etc. But
I mean, credit to them, and I mean, elsewhere in the playoffs, the Golden Knights, they absolutely took the Oilers out to town yesterday. It was originally 1-1, and they went to Edmonton, but the Golden Knights did not treat them pretty well on home ice. It was a pretty ugly game. I saw it like the end of the second period. It was, I think, 5-1 or something, but I forget where it ended 5-1.
Yeah,
but I think it's a real shame because the post I put out right before going on the Daily Show, it's about this guy on the Avalanche who obviously they won the whole thing last year. Their captain is going to have a cartilage replacement in his knee, and this was the year. I mean, we saw Seattle knock out the Avalanche in the first round. So for both the Oilers and the Golden Knights, this is kind of like this is the year you got to capitalize. You got to without Colorado, and even next year, the Landeskog is his name, the captain of Colorado. He's going to miss the whole entire next season. I mean, I know Colorado's going to be a great team next year. A tough out. Obviously, Seattle beat them in 7 games. But, for both, obviously McDavid, everyone's talking about him. When is he going to get over the hump, win the cup? You're not really going to find a much better year than now. And even down 2-1, they have a chance to make something out of this series and potentially make it to the conference finals. But Vegas has been really good. I can't deny that.
I was watching, I think it was Game 2, maybe, and McDavid had that shorthanded goal on the break, and I'm like, this dude he's
unreal. And then he's got the teammate, he's got Draisaitl.
Draisaitl
right next to him, and he's been putting up silly numbers. Like
he had 4 goals in Game 1, was it?
Yeah. It was game. I
one or
think
two
game
in
one he
game
had
two.
4 goals, and they still lost 5-4. Like these are, I would say, the two best players in the sport, and it's a real crime that they haven't been able to at least make it to the finals once.
Is it me? And I'm watching this from like a casual, not knowing what the hell I'm talking about perspective, or is like McDavid just like faster than everyone else skating? Like, is that me, or
He's
is that
faster
like
than everyone
he
else.
just he's like is he one of the faster skaters?
Your eyes are not tricking you. He just does everything well. I think what obviously is the blazing speed, but his whole repertoire as a skater.
Okay.
I think it's similar, like we talk about Hakeem Olajuwon and his footwork, back in the post, back in the day. McDavid, his edge work, his way to turn corners, his way to his edge work on his skates, and his his ability with the speed and the puck on his stick. He just does everything. And
half the time I'm not even thinking about someone. I mean, obviously you know more about this than I do, and you watch it, and so does Trey and everyone else in the hockey channel. But like I'm watching it, and I'm still trying to like half the time I'm like trying to find the puck. I'm like, where the fuck is this puck? Oh,
it's kind of like it's.
And I'm looking on one side of my screen. I was like, oh, is the puck right there? But I see it like sliding on the other end. I'm like, oh, it's over there. Like,
I just follow the players.
I'm a very casual observer, and I'm just watching it, looking like I'm like getting dizzy watching them go back and forth.
The camera work, yeah, it's crazy.
Like, I don't know how
the way
go on.
Oh yeah. No, I was gonna say the way I compare McDavid is 2013 LeBron James when he should have won Defensive Player of the Year over Marc Gasol. Just dominant. Just like there's no stopping him, The only way you beat the Oilers is you outscore them.
Yeah, which is.
But obviously, that's how you win in hockey. You score more goals than the opponent, so I can't just dismiss that.
People don't like to talk about it, but there's 100% success rate on winning games if you score more goals than the opponent.
It's. I mean, never failed. It's foolproof.
Again, just going back to our baseball conversation, that's what I want the Yankees to do. Just score more runs than the other team. You'll win the game. You will win the game if you score more runs than them.
Who says Aaron Hicks can't hit 62 home runs in a season? I do, but I'm just kidding.
I don't even want to think about that team.
I know. I'm just like I've kind of just like shunned them internally.
I'm not shunning them, but I'm like the AL East is so damn good this year. It's like the
I
Yankees
think it's already
they're still 2 games.
You're already getting close to the point where it's too late. Like it's crazy. We're in May, but you're almost like there's just too much ground to cover here. You're getting close to that point already.
I read something this morning, and like the AL East, I don't know if this is just like the top 4, the top 3, but like the AL East is 85-39 against teams outside of their division this year. Like that's ridiculous. Nuts. I don't know. I'd have to like double and triple check that, but I read that this morning. I'm like, what? Like that's nuts.
I mean,
and it's like that doesn't help when you're playing 13 games in division instead of 19.
I mean, you make a starting lineup of players from only the NL East. You can have one damn good team, the AL East, excuse me. I mean, you think about outfield. You have Aaron Judge. You have
Aaron Hicks.
Aaron Hicks. You have Yoshida on the Red Sox. I mean, you have infield. You look at Guerrero. You look at Devers. You look at Chapman. You look at. I mean, I could go on and on. You go to Adley Rutschman behind the plate. Like you just got talent coming out of their ears in the AL East, which is obviously a great thing for baseball and a terrible thing for us Yankees fans.
Yeah, I'm just glad I have Yoshida on my fantasy team. I know there was a portion of the hot streak where I sat him and I was like, this is not a good idea. Probably shouldn't do that.
I'm just ready for Judge to get off the IL. I need the fantasy points.
I'm ready for the Cardinals to start winning games. How about that?
Yeah, I mean that's also true.
How about that? I need them to. I don't need the Pittsburgh Pirates being 9 games ahead of the St. Louis Cardinals anymore. All right. Apologies to Pirates fans. I like you, Andrew McCutcheon, Brian Reynolds, Rodolfo Castro.
Even though O'Neal Cruz is hurt, I think still right. He's
got O'Neal Cruz. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, shout out them. But today's Tuesday. It's not Freaky Friday. You can get all that out of the way.
I know the Pirates have regressed a little bit. they've been losing more games. I think they won yet. They beat Colorado yesterday, but just in general, they're slipping off a little bit as the days go by. Again, baseball is weird. I don't know how much that's gonna. I don't know how much that's gonna sustain itself.
True.
Nevertheless, do you have anything more to add, man? I mean, or
No,
now that I should ask you, who do you think is going to win these hockey series?
Oh, I mean, I can just quickly run through that. I mean, I think out of Vegas and Edmonton right now, I'm going to have to go with Vegas. Obviously, Florida's up 3-1 or 3-0. I think Florida's going to close it out in either 4 or 5. It's weird between, or I think the Devils and the Hurricanes play tonight, but I think Jersey's down 2-1. I think Jersey's going to find a way to at least tie it, but I do think that because Carolina, Carolina does have home ice, so I think Carolina will eventually find a way. And then last but not least, Seattle and Dallas.
And the Stars.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Kraken are going to find a way, man. Just like the Golden Knights did a couple of years ago. I think the Kraken's going to be released. You heard it here first. Many more have said it before me.
That was one of my favorite. I mean, I was an infomercial guy when I was growing up, because I was just like that weird kid who just remembered.
I loved infomercials.
But like, to release the Kraken will always be one of my favorites, just for no reason. I didn't even know what it was until I got older. But I was like, oh, it's just a cool saying, and it's like the cartoon of like the octopus, whatever. But
I still don't know what a Kraken is, but
maybe I should be. Matter. Maybe I should be a Kraken fan. I don't know who the hell. I have no official decision on a hockey team. Maybe I'm just going to root for my bets. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's tough because you could wait. You could see it out for the rest of the playoffs and then make your decision heading into next season, or you could just pick one now. I mean, you have some options.
I see, again, for this postseason, I'm going to be an honorary Panthers fan for my guys in the 305. But
I think it's a good choice.
I don't know if that will be – I don't know if that's going to, like, keep itself after the season. Maybe I probably should be, but for now, at least I'm rooting for my Florida Panthers. No. I'll root for the Panthers again. I do have the Vegas Golden Knights in my own state, so possibly.
I mean, we've seen in both the NBA and the NHL, anything is possible once the playoffs start.
Yeah,
we got to buckle up.
Talked to friends about this. I was like, you still got to play the games. You still anything can happen in a 7-game series.
Once you're in, you're in.
Weird shit happens. Injuries happen. Adjustments happen. Momentum happens.
Boston Bruins had the best regular season ever in hockey history, and your Florida Panthers knocked them out.
Isn't there a weird trend with teams who win the President's Cup? Like, isn't there doesn't end well pretty early, fairly the last several years?
Because obviously it was the Bruins this year, and then the Panthers last year in the second round. And then I'm trying to think, the 2 years ago it was weird because it was like the COVID season in the league. The NHL did a very weird thing where they reorganized the divisions based on geography, so who would travel the least. And so, the whole league, not everyone was able to play each other. So there wasn't – I don't even know if there was a President's Trophy awarded. And then 2020, I got to think back to that. I mean, I could get back to you on that, but I can assure you
there was a weird trend of teams who just haven't won it.
They just don't – they don't win it all. They do not win the Stanley Cup. It does not translate to that.
Got it.
But, yeah. I mean, it's been – both I've been singing the NBA's praises, but also the NHL has had a very good postseason as well.
And I can't wait to continue watching it as a very casual, where's the puck at? Oh, who's on the floor? Who's on the? I always get mixed up with the substitutions. I still don't know how lines.
You just jump right out. You just do it. You just got to make sure you got to wait for the guy you're subbing gets back on the bench, or else there'll be too many men on the ice.
Right, but I hear the talks of all this guys on the third line. Or the second line. I still have no idea what that I still have no idea how people track that.
We talked about Kachuk. He's their first line guy. He's their top level. And then second line is more scoring. You want some production. And then the third and fourth lines, you're mostly just out there to hit guys. You're mostly just out there to throw your body, win the puck back. Maybe a fluke a goal, but you're just out there to keep the puck out of your own end and just to hit guys.
Okay. Because it's I hear it and I'm I just can't keep track of who's on the ice at a given
Yeah, I
point.
mean,
Such
it
a
moves so
short.
quickly.
It's such a
Even
short.
now.
Like they're on the ice for like a minute, and then they go off, and it's just like I'm just losing track. Again, I'm still half the time trying to find where the puck's at, and like
I mean,
when someone shoots it and it goes wherever it is, I'm like, what? Like, I'm
I've
looking
been
at my
watching
TV
this.
screen all
Yeah,
over it.
I've been watching this for the better part of a decade, and even in person or on television, I still have a hard time keeping track of everything.
But the crowd and the announcers, like it feels like every time someone scores, like sometimes you can see it.
They just
Sometimes you can see where the puck's at and like it deflects or it goes in or whatever. But like when someone hits a slap shot at a gajillion miles an hour,
gets through like 5 different people and into the net.
yeah, I'm like I'm still like trying to figure out, and then like the crowd, everyone like knows how to react.
Just jumps up, the horn, the lights.
Yeah, it's just like it feels like everyone's on it but me, and I'm like, what? Again, this is a very casual. I don't know what the hell I'm watching. I'm still trying to learn the sport hockey perspective, and I'm like, what?
I can assure you, you're not the only one, Matt. There are many other new NHL
Probably
fans,
not.
new NHL viewers, thanks to the explosive playoffs we've been witnesses to so far.
It's a fun watch, but I'm so since I cover a team in the NBA, plus I'd watch a lot of college basketball because I do work in that too. I'm all over the place, and it's just like I just watch too much basketball. I guess that's just my takeaway from this. I watch too much basketball.
Not a bad thing.
I watch a lot of film. I cover the sport. Like that takes up the majority of my winter/spring time. And so it's like when it comes to hockey, I don't get to watch as much of it just because I don't have enough time. But that's beside the point.
That's not a bad problem to have at all. But is there anything else that's on your mind, Matt?
Go Heat.
Yeah, I'll
say
go Lakers.
I'm sorry it has to come at the expense of your Knicks if the Heat win the series.
They disappoint me already,
Please
Matt.
close this shit out in 5.
Exactly. Just end my misery. Let me watch hockey or the Lakers full time, and then I'll be fine.
I just end this shit in 5.
Don't leave a chance.
The Sixers go 7 overtimes each of their next 2 games, at least 3 games, hopefully. I say that now, and it's probably going to be some 20-point blowout tonight because it's in Boston. It's going to be stupid. They're going to rest Jason Tatum for the entire fourth quarter. It's like, no, I want him to play. I want them to play 60 minutes.
Exactly.
I want them to play as much as possible. I want them to be tired by the time the series is over.
Exactly.
But that's besides the point. I'd still have to look and see like when next series will start, just for curiosity purposes.
I know the final start
closes it out Wednesday. It also depends on when the Boston
that's true
Philly series ends, but I'm guessing it's probably going to start Sunday or Monday, or maybe even Tuesday, because I know Game 7 for Boston. Is Game 7 for Boston? Would that be Sunday or Saturday? When would that
Wednesday,
be?
Friday. I guess it would be Sunday. Yeah,
it'd be Sunday. Because I know Game 7 for Heat and Knicks would be on Monday, and so I'm guessing if Miami closes out on Wednesday or even Friday, and
hopefully they have a nice long rest,
if we win 7, I think that would start next Wednesday.
Wednesday
or Thursday.
Jimmy and the guys can have a very long rest, relax on the beach a little bit.
With his ankle, Jimmy needs it, dude. Get him as much rest as possible. That 3 days of rest probably helped him out a bunch. From games.
Someone pour him up a nice margarita or something. He's earned it.
Yeah, 5 days, or technically it was 5 days rest because he didn't play game 2. But just the extra rest helped. I know Bam's been dealing with a bad hip this entire practical postseason. Just close this shit out. Dude, just close it. Same thing I'm asking for after the Bucks. Just close this shit out in 5. I don't want anymore. Just close it out. Just close it out in 5. I don't need this series to go longer than it should. Even though I'm still confident in my team. They still only have to win 1 game, but just close this shit out in 5, dude. Seriously. I say that now. The Knicks are probably going to hit 18 of 35 from 3. They're going to go off, and Miami's going to be game 6 or something. I have no idea.
We can only wait and see, but we can guarantee we'll be back next Tuesday with more on this. And
Yep.
everyone who's viewing, thank you all for tuning in again. Please subscribe. I will have a post out on this with the timestamps in case you came in late. Again, everyone have a great Tuesday, and we'll see you on the flip side.